Welcome back to the food truck. I. Phew, I don't even know what to say about what happened last time, so let's just get right into it. Either they can't hear us, or they can't respond. Carl's gripping onto me with both of his hands, practically hauling me off my feet as he pulls me along. Suddenly, he stops. What the fuck am I doing? He lets me go and crouches down in front of me. On my back! I'm there before he even finishes the sentence, and soon my face is bouncing off of his hard skull as he starts sprinting towards the fire. Whether it's my head or not, I swear I can hear a slithering sound behind me, like a snake sliding over dry leaves. I shiver, not wanting to look back, but I do anyway, trying to peer into the darkness. Of course, I can't see anything, but I swear something flashes in front of the lone rectangle of light coming from the cabin's kitchen window. The rustling sound gets louder, and now I can't pretend that I'm imagining it. It casts a picture into my mind. That black shadow creature contorting and bending through the sagebrush that Carl was having so much trouble moving through. I hold on to one of his horns and lean towards his ear. Carl, it's getting close. And then my stomach lurches as it feels like the floor suddenly drops out. Away. Next thing I know, my nose smacks hard into the back of Carl's head before I flip over, landing on my back in what feels like a sea of sharp rocks. I lay there for a second, dazed, staring at the black ocean above me, wondering if any of this is real. Am I still dreaming? Maybe I'll just wake up in my dorm, probably late to my legal and ethical issues in journalism class. Fuck, are you okay? A muffled voice breaks through my haze of confusion and pain. Then I'm being yanked back up as Carl pulls me to my feet and clumsily shoves me back into onto his back. Sorry, shit, sorry. I'm fine. I can barely mumble through my numb mouth, which feels like it's full of pennies. I can see I'm making a dark stain in the back of Carl's shirt. It feels like my face is covered in. It feels like my face is caved in. I wonder if my nose is broken, but the fear of the pursuit is returning, and I quickly clutch at Carl's horns before he resumes his sprint. He finally comes to a stumbling halt in front of the massive bonfire which had looked so small from the cabin. We both stare up at it, the heat almost unbearable. Um, the whispers are behind me. The whispers behind me reach a crescendo, the hissing just over my shoulder. Um, what are we supposed to do? My voice raises in pitch as I look back behind us, the black shape now discernible in the firelight as it slithers around the rocks and sagebrush. It's like a person imitating a snake. I grip onto Carl as he turns to face it, then take a step back, then another. I, I don't know. I cling to the ram, and I can feel him trembling underneath me. As the creature reaches the edge of the circle of firelight, Carl turns to start running past the fire, and then my muscles seize up. My jaws clench. My jaw clenches, my eyes roll back, and I feel myself falling backwards. The heat is almost unbearable, and my fur is damp from sweat, the skin underneath itching and uncomfortable. I can feel the sun on my face, the brightness turning the insides of my eyelids a dazzling red. I don't want to open them, though. No, I just want to sleep. I almost do fall asleep, but a distant chorus of shouts and screams jolts me back awake. Now I do try to open my eyes, but I can't. It's like they're glued shut. I reach up, to paw at them, but my arms won't lift. I must be dreaming, stuck in a paralysis. So I lay there, listening to the shouting and screaming, imagining an angry mob. After what seems like hours, the voices fade and the red turns deeper, darker, blood-like, as if the sun is setting. And that's when I can finally drift away, back to sleep. A soft, choking moan brings me back to the surface. I'm still hot and sweaty, but the blazing sun isn't shining in my face anymore. I wiggle my fingers and shift my arms a bit, feeling them glide over fabric. At least I'm not paralyzed anymore. Another moan, followed by a coughing sound, forces me to open my eyes, realizing it's not part of a dream. I stare up at the ceiling, a textured beige ceiling. I'm back at the room where I'd slept. How long ago? A day? A few days? It doesn't matter because everything comes back at me at once. I feel like a lead weight has just dropped onto my chest, knocking the wind out of me. Fuck, is this not over? Now I'm starting to become convinced that this is never going to end. We're stuck in a loop, just like in my dreams. Another moan, slightly weaker, makes me sit up and look around the room. I'm alone, as far as I can tell. Where are the others? Am I actually alone? I can't stop a soft whimper coming from my mouth. I can't stop a soft whimper coming from my mouth at the thought of being separated from the others. I was barely keeping it together with Carl, but without him. A loud cough through the wall behind me makes me jump again. I quickly slide off the bed and immediately cringe as my weight comes to rest on my swollen ankle. I sag against the bed for a moment, squinting my eyes shut as I wonder why my ankle is only getting stiffer. Maybe the fall Carl had taken made it even worse. The thought that those moans could be coming from Carl spurs me to straighten up and carefully hop towards the door. I have to stifle a short yelp with every bounce. By the time I reach the door frame, I have to lean against it to catch my breath. My hands shake as I rub my eyes, the pain making me wonder if I'll ever be able to walk without a limp again. Another groan from the room next to me forces me to move again. In the hallway now, I'm able to make out the sounds a bit better and realize it has a feminine quality to it. Jenna? My voice comes out in a crackly squeak, and I grunt to clear my throat. Jenna! I try again, and wait, but I get no response in return. I force myself to step into the hallway, clinging to the wall for support. When I look down the hall, to the door next to mine, I find something very familiar. A damaged wooden door, the middle bulging and splintered out as if something had hit it from the other side. Memories of a bad smell, a dark concrete room, and a noose. I hold tighter to the door frame, feeling my knees tremble, both from the pain and the fear. I look behind me, hoping to see Carl, maybe even Raven. A shuffling sound followed by another cough and a gurgle draws my eyes back to the door. If it's Jenna, I have to act now. I steady myself against the wall as I hop slowly to the door, eyes watering with the pain now. Reaching out with a shaking hand, I start to slowly push at the door, hoping that I might be able to crack it open just a little bit and not draw the attention of whatever's inside. The door only shifts a little, though, seeming to catch on the ground underneath it. It lets out a rough scratching sound that makes my fur raise up. Gritting my teeth, I forgo the stealthy approach and give it a hard shove. This time it opens halfway and I'm able to see into the room. Just like last time, there's no light coming from within the room itself. Instead, I have to rely on the dim yellow light coming from the hallway. It casts a widening band of light into the concrete room as the door opens. The smell hits me like a wave, and I immediately gag, doubling over and pressing a hand to my nose before pulling up the neck of my shirt over my nose. Sure, I smell like BO from the 2 days of running in fear, but it's better than the sweet smell of rotting meat that's enveloping me. Still shaking, I peer into the room while I lean against the door, but I'm only able to see the cracked concrete floor and walls. The grunting, choking sounds reach a peak now. It's coming from beyond the band of light. It's an inky blackness that isn't all that different from what Carl and I had run through. Hydration break. Okay, so I apologize if this kind of sounds like it comes right the fuck out of nowhere, but I have had to pause my recording session to go help my roommate out. And it gave me time to kind of like think about things and take a step back. What occurs to me is that several things that have just happened that I didn't really think about because I've been too in it, too focused on, reading with my eyes, not reading with my brain. And I've realized that if James is potentially possessing Carl and John is potentially possessing Jenna, when I was saying potentially, they are. So if they're, if they're possessing their descendants, so if they're being possessed by their ancestors, it stands to reason that their ancestors wouldn't want them to die or come to real harm, which means that those two are genuinely of diametrically opposing forces. Now, the next thing I want to point out is that while Carl was more confident, yes, with James, that is, well, he's more confident, Jenna said some very curious things, and there's two of them I want to point out, and that was how she blamed Carl for setting the paper on fire. So, did James actually have something to do with the missing kids? Was there something there to be said? Because theoretically, I mean, if they can somewhat control this dimension, they could theoretically just make a piece of paper go up in smoke. So, poof, there goes bye-bye evidence. The next thing I want to say is that before she, like Spider Monkey jumped on him and like rammed his face into the freaking floor, she said, "You haven't changed." And she thought that Carl was trying to fuck Chase. So, was James promiscuous? And John didn't like that? Was James, because, it really feels like there's still a lot to be uncovered here. But I'm just so perplexed by what's actually going on, especially since I'm finally, stepping back and starting to try and read between the lines. But I guess I should go ahead and get back to the story, since apparently it sounds like somebody is getting hung, which, if I remember correctly, wasn't John executed by hanging? I mean, things are pointing in a direction, and that direction, I'm not gonna lie, kind of looks like James is actually a terrible guy. Hello? No response. It sounds like the grunting has stopped, too. Shit, I have to do something now. I think about just kicking the door open and jumping back, but then I remember there's really nothing I can do with my feet right now. Taking a deep breath, I set both hands against the door. I still myself for whatever I'm about to see and then shove the door as hard as I can. The door swings in suddenly, scraping horribly against the floor the entire way. I yelp at the suddenness of it all, the tension all exploding out of me at once as I jump back in fear. The band of light widens, sweeping over the entirety of the concrete room before the door finally lodges against the wall with a snapping sound. I almost lose my balance, arms swinging around cartoonishly as I try to hop on one foot. At the same time, I'm fearfully eyeing the opening, terrified of what I'm about to see. What I do see is definitely terrifying. It's Jenna, in the middle of the room. She's hanging from the noose, her muzzle tilted up so I'm able to clearly see the rope digging into the fur around her neck, painfully tight. Her toes are barely touching the floor, but it doesn't even look like she's trying to keep herself up. It looks like she's unconscious. Jenna! There's no response, and I find myself leaping in her direction. I forget about my ankle until all of my weight comes down on it twice in my mad dash, and I literally scream as it happens. There isn't any time to worry about it though, as I grab at Jenna, unsure of what to do. First, I try to wrap my arms around her and lift her up, screaming again as I set my weight down on my foot. She doesn't respond to any of this, just hangs limp in my arms, which terrifies me even more. I reach up and pluck uselessly at the hangman's knot, and that I immediately know isn't going to budge no matter how much I pull. Carl! Carl, help! I feel myself starting to panic. Desperately, I look around, trying to find something, anything, I might be able to use to cut the rope. Jenna! I call up to her. I can't see her eyes from this angle, but I can't feel any movement in her. I try to press my ear against her chest, but I'm not sure if I'm doing it in the right spot. I try to quiet my breathing and actually listen, but I still can't hear anything. Shit. Carl! I feel myself starting to hyperventilate and trying again to slow my breathing. If I pass out right now, I'm going to be less help than I already am. The world is starting to take on a surreal tint, and I think I'm actually dreaming. I think about running to the kitchen, but I don't want to let her go, especially since I feel like she's on the edge of dying right now. I reach up again and start trying to worm my fingers under the rope, but it's useless. It's way too tight. My eyes start to water as I realize I'm not helping her at all right now, aside from maybe taking a little pressure off her neck, but it might be too late anyway. Help! I'm suddenly hyper aware of the screaming pain in my ankle, and I feel it giving out. So are my arms, burning with the strain of trying to hold Jenna up. I press my face against her chest, feeling myself start to give up on everything. And then suddenly the weight disappears, and I feel Jenna lift up several inches into the air. I look up and see Carl next to me, his big arms easily able to keep the fox off the ground. Not only that, but he's got a knife in one hand. I recognize it as the same knife Carl had used earlier in the hallway. Carl! I sob with relief as he sets to sawing the rope, and soon all three of us come crashing to the ground as Jenna's cut free. We lay there in a heaving heap. The only sound is our gasps as we all try to catch our breaths, Jenna being the loudest. After a while, I sit up and look over at her. She's already sitting up herself, one hand to her neck, rubbing at it. Are you okay? I reach out to her. I am fine. She leans away a little from my hand, so I drop it. I thought you were gonna die, Jenna. My voice is all shuddery, and I Struggle to keep my emotions under control, to not have a panic attack. Whatever was controlling this whole scenario just tried to kill one of us. Then I guess it's already happened with that shadow creature thing. Even with what's happened to Raven. Jenna picks up the knife and brings it up to her neck, starting to saw out the... Oh, I thought this was going to go somewhere else. She's just cutting the rope off. I can help. She ignores me. I look over at Carl and see that he's flat on his back, arms spread out. Thank you, Carl. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't showed up. Carl raises a hand in acknowledgement. How the hell did you get a knife? Carl takes a few moments to gasp. More gasps to catch his breath. I heard you guys and saw that. He gestures up at the hanging rope at the end of it frizzed out after the cut. Remembered the knife I dropped when we were here before. Thank God. We lay there a while longer, Jenna busy hacking at the rope, Carl choosing to stare up at the ceiling. That almost peaceful silence is shattered as a husky stumbles into the doorframe, gasping, grasping the wall as he practically trips in. Whoa! Hey guys! So again, I want to quickly, question something here. If this space is, the memories of the house and the ghost of John and James, is that log cabin, where they first met? I kind of want to assume it is. That sounds like, I'm not gonna lie, that kind of sounds like that it would make for, a perfect, pioneer settler cowboy days gay furry novel where, I've just, I've got my log house all set up in this nice little nook and valley, and we're, I got my night going on, and suddenly this bonfire was out there, and it was a lonesome, rather strapping fox feller that I went out there and I met, and we sat there and we talked, and he done taught me good about the spirits of the land and the spirits of this valley, and tell you what, under the moonlight, shining, twinkling on his eyes, and the shadows from the fire dancing on his face, I done thought, Lord Almighty, that he had been sent one of God's great angels. You can see how that would write itself out, at least in my opinion. He grins, waving a hand at us as he writes himself. He looks around at us, taking in the scene. What happened? Jenna got hanged. Carl cut her down. There's really no way to sugarcoat it. Oh, crap! He stares wide-eyed at Jenna. Well, guess it's surprising it wasn't me this time, huh? He lets out a high-pitched, nervous laugh. None of us even cracks a smile. You're okay, though? Fine. Raven looks around the room. Well, it looks like we're still here. We're all... Carl lets out a big, shuddery breath. I don't know if I can do this anymore. What do you mean? We're stuck. I don't know what else we're supposed to do. Just keep looking around. We're finding stuff, right? And then what? Get stuck in another fucked up place where we'll be chased around and almost killed? He waves a hand in Jenna's direction. Look what just happened. It wants us dead. Carl. I trail off. What? I try to think of something to say. Anything that might convince the ram to keep going. Just a while ago, minutes, hours, days, I was having the same doubts. But for some reason, Carl's sudden demeanor of defeatism has me more motivated. Because if Carl gives up, what else is there to keep me going? There's a soft snap, and I look over to see that Jen has pulled the rope from her throat. How's your neck? Jenna rubs at it. Fine. Her voice has an air of complete disinterest, despite the situation. She seems distracted, too, her eyes flicking around at the ceiling, like she's expecting something to happen up there. I look up too, but all I see is concrete that's spiderwebbed with cracks. The rope, I notice, is hanging from nothing. It sort of just grows out of the ceiling. Carl lets out another sigh next to me. I wish I had a joint. I feel a small flicker of annoyance. And how will that help anything? Carl's quiet for a moment, clearly sensing the change in my mood. Not now, you fucking chunt. I immediately regret it, but I don't have the energy to take it back. Because it might make me feel a little better. By making you feel less, we need to be alert right now so we can figure this out. I bring my tone back down to normal, realizing how unfair it would be if I get mad at Carl right now. I don't know if we can, though. Carl's lips tug down in front of it. In a frown, it looks like he's trying to keep himself from crying. Before I can say anything to comfort him, Jenna speaks up. You will. Her voice is dark, firm, and completely unlike the way Jenna has ever spoken before. We both look at her, and she sits there, legs crossed, staring hard at us. Well, at me. Carl sits up. Jenna. Jenna doesn't look at him. Instead, she keeps looking at me. John. Now she does look at Carl, and it's out of instinct, her eyes darting to him before looking back at me. I recognize it as that almost unstoppable urge to look the way you hear your name being called. Yeah, we'd suspected, and Jenna had been acting weird, but to think she was that consumed by him. Carl glances at me meaningfully. We haven't asked her directly about it yet, so I guess now's the time. Hey Jenna, are you feeling okay? I'm feeling fine. It's just that you haven't seemed like yourself for a while now. What do you mean? Look over at Carl as he shifts himself around on the floor. Listen, when we first got here, and even a little before then, I was feeling weird. Carl pauses as he seems to be searching for the right words. Sort of like something else had become a part of me. Jenna narrows her eyes at Carl, but doesn't say anything. There was another voice in my head. Almost. And after a while, I knew it was that guy, James, in my head. Sounds like you're going crazy. Carl frowns. Maybe, but he was making me act different, feel different, and it was kind of fucked up, to be honest. Weird. Yeah, weird, but it was easy to get him out of my head. Carl points at his horns. And now he's not there anymore. Jenna keeps that stern look on her face, frowning at Carl. What are you trying to say? Well, do you know a guy named John? John Begay? Not really. You keep mentioning him, but no one's told me who he is, aside from the fact that he was hanged. I remember that picture I'd taken of John back in the crawl space. My hand feels my phone through my pocket as I almost reach to pull it out before remembering it's dead. He was in some of the pictures with James Hendricks, the founder of the town. Jenna stares at me blankly. James was Carl's ancestor, right? We think that John was your ancestor, too. He was a fox and has the same last name. So wasn't your family an echo since the beginning? Yes. So it seems like you're probably related to him, right? Jenna stares hard at me, then at Carl. Our family doesn't have records like yours, Carl. Carl frowns again. You say that like it's my fault. Maybe it is. Carl starts to sputter again, but I cut in before he can defend himself. See? Jenna doesn't talk like that. You wouldn't say something like that. Jenna doesn't say anything, keeping her glare at Carl. Carl clears his throat nervously. What I'm trying to say is that maybe your ancestor's in your head, like mine was. I don't think so. Carl lets out a frustrated sigh. I mean, something's different with you, dude. I can see it, Chase sees it. I nod in confirmation. Raven suddenly cuts in. I mean, I don't know you that well, but if we're going by how a normal person acts, you're not acting very normal. We're not in a normal situation like that, are we? Carl shakes his head. I know you can resist it like I did, Jenna. You've always had a really strong mind, stronger than mine. Carl swallows. So it shouldn't be a problem for you to stop it like I did. Jenna shrugs. Nothing's wrong with me, Carl. We all go quiet. Besides, isn't this about clearing James's name or whatever? Why are we talking about John? Jenna stares at Carl, eyes moving across his face like she's searching for something. Carl stares hard right back at her. Unless you don't want to fight it. Jenna's expression remains emotionless. I mean, are you letting him? I don't know, Carl. Are you letting him control you? No, I already told you I fought him out. How do we know that's true? Carl throws up his hands. Dude, why would I lie? Carl looks at me for some help. Yeah, Carl's way different than he was earlier. He's himself now. But how do you know that? I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say to Jenna to convince her. Of course, I can't be completely sure. The only person that can know is Carl. He says he isn't possessed anymore, and I trust him on that. And with that, we're going to have to go ahead and, I guess, call this episode here. It looks like this is going to be the last episode for February 2026, and I hope everybody has a good time, a good day. I hope everybody who's stayed with me and watched me go through this so far has enjoyed themselves and finds themselves maybe with a new perspective, maybe with a new idea that they didn't have before. But thank you all for watching. Have a good night, guys.